So I don't do these types of videos very often. We're going to be doing a review, and it's a review of a custom item. Now, it's not the first time I've ever had custom items. In fact, one of the pieces just arrived today, but some other pieces we'll be seeing in this video, actually, I've had for a couple of years now, either from buying them from this source or winning a couple of contests in the past as well. So we're going to be taking a look at those, including the one that came today, and I wanted to talk about how they have improved as time has gone on. I'll stand by these because even, getting them a handful of years ago when the technology wasn't where it is now when it comes to 3D printing and things like that, still, these were some really satisfactory products, and on top of that, were super affordable. So the products we're going to be looking at today are from Red Star Games, and I'm going to be actually holding up a couple of these myself so that you can take a look at them. They make a plethora of custom masks, custom weapons, armor, things like that, often modeled by several members of the community, in-house, if you will. And so, obviously, it does mean that there's a bit of a bottleneck on their end, just because they've only got one person printing orders, as far as I'm aware, which, printers can be kind of expensive. I get it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at it. And if you like this type of content, make sure you're subscribed. It really helps out. The first one we're going to take a look at here is actually the first one that I acquired maybe 3 years ago, potentially more. It's honestly hard to say. And it is this mask right here, the Noble Pakari. I really like this one. This is one that I actually acquired by placing first in a contest that they did. It was a Rahi contest, if I can recall correctly, but it's been a while. I don't remember what I submitted, I'm going to be honest to you. But the aesthetic is really nice. I picked this mask out specifically. I had my choice of mask, but I picked this one out specifically because it feels the most like a mask we would have seen in 2001. The offset with the mouth there with the like oval kind of shape, and there's two of them there, one of them slightly placed a bit higher, and yeah, it might be called like the Noble Pakari, but there's nothing about this mask that screams it needs to be a Pakari, like it kind of has that heavy brow that can be seen on some renditions of the Pakari, things like that. But generally speaking, it just kind of has character all its own, and I really like it. It's a very simple mask. I got it colored in tan. It's just painted by hand, I believe, by Holly Nuva as well. And I think that they did a fantastic job. A little bit of texture on it, and of course some texture on the mask itself as well, because again, processing time frame, and of course the fact that again, this was printed a few years ago when, printers didn't quite have the resolution they have now. But these are resin printed. They have held up extraordinarily well over time. My only gripe with these, and I'm going to use air quotes when I call it that, is the axle is very loose on these masks. I believe that is intentional because they want them to be thinner so that when the masks are painted, for example, that the axle kind of thickens up. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's true, so don't quote me on that and don't take it as gospel or anything like that. But generally speaking, I think that this mask looks absolutely exceptional, and it is painted on the inside as well as on the outside. Not necessary, but always nice. In terms of the paint quality, it's completely opaque. You can't see through it, but the masks themselves that underlie this are clear. So that works out well. So the next two masks I actually bought in an order together. One I bought for my prototype remake of Makuta when I was using him as my self-mock. And so this mask, the one I'll go ahead and show you now, is called the Koramau, if I pronounce that or remember that correctly. And again, purchased about 2 years ago, I want to say. Maybe 1.5, but time frames are picky. That said, I think this is a lovely mask. It kind of has a legendary aesthetic to it, but not too over the top, all things considered. And it's a fairly straightforward design as well. It's not overly detailed. It's not understated by any means. It's just a overall good design, in my opinion. Again, same thing here as well with the axle. You'd want to kind of coat it in something or paint it, if you will. I painted this one myself just using the Sharpie trick, which I've made a video talking about in the past. It gives you a pretty good match or rough match for Lego's color of silver while being fairly easy to apply and apply in multiple coats. Obviously, this is just a one coat and it's only on the outside, so it is definitely more transparent than a full-on paint. It's also thinner than paint, generally speaking, so I think it's still fine and it does what I need it to do. But yeah, backlit, you'll see a little bit of light come through it and it'll look a little bit rough. One coat, like I said, definitely better to do more than one. Third here, and this is one that I bought, I think, after I designed my Turaga G2 revamps, but I could be wrong on that. I might have bought it in preparation for making those. Aside from that, though, it is my favorite of the Generation 1 masks, the Ruru. So I bought the G2 version of it, and this is what that looks like. This also came clear. I painted this. This is just spray paint. I definitely could have done a better job, but it's not bad by any means, and it's more than passable for me. Color-wise, it is a fine match for Legos Black. Kind of hard to not match that color. Mainly want to focus on the gloss, of course. And this has got a little bit of a satin kind of edge to it, but it's still glossy overall. Aesthetically, the mask, again, very simple, very G2 in its aesthetic as well. Lots of sharp, crisp lines, no matte textures on the mask itself, which is true for the Master masks in Generation 2 as well. And overall, you know, it definitely reminds me of the Ruru without being just a one-for-one copy of it. I think this is a good representation of that mask. So, when ordering my most recent mask, I wanted to carry this forward because I don't know which of my G2 Turaga is my favorite. It kind of fluctuates for me, but one that always floats around towards the top is Matau, and you can kind of see him back there. I have shown him in a video all the way back in, I think, November, so it has been a while. Probably have to put those in their own playlist. But I wanted to get him a custom mask finally, because currently the mask he's wearing is just Liwa Masters, which works fine, but you know, you want to have some differences there. So the mask I'm going to show you is clear. I just got it in the mail today. It was quite a wait, I will say that, but again, when there's only one person doing the processing, I still got the mask. I'm not gonna, you know, harp on that too much, and I was not in a rush. I didn't need it for any projects or anything like that, so I told them, take as much time as you need. But the mask, in this case, and I'll show you it a little bit better, but let's take a look at it in picture form first. This one right here is the Mask of Illusion, so essentially, it is the Mahiki of Generation 2. And I really like this one. I think it looks quite exceptional. It comes with a rune variant or a non-rune variant. So you can see that there's runes on one side there. I got the non-rune one just because I wanted it to sort of be more in line with the, you know, G1 type of masks, right? But I do think having the runes on the Turaga mask specifically could also be really nice because it gives them a little bit of something extra. Does that make sense? Obviously, that again, it's not overstated. There's not runes on every single flat surface here either, so it's quite nice. I don't imagine these runes mean anything. I know some people have tried to give meaning to this, you know, G2 alphabet, but overall, aesthetically, I think that this mask is just excellent. Honestly, I will show you the version in my hand here in a moment, but it's going to be very hard to see on OBS camera. I do apologize for that. OBS has gummed up and messed up, and yeah, it won't let me add new cameras or change filters. It's very annoying. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with it. Anyway, with all that being said, though, this is the mask itself, and I could not be happier with it. What I noticed is a marked improvement in the quality of mask, mostly the processing. Like I said, the printing of these masks has always been exceptional. Maybe like a little bit of extra resin on one side or the other didn't get quite caught. None of that here. Now, this is all anecdote, so I can't speak for the masks that other people have gotten, either in the past or now, but at the very least, this looks absolutely lovely. Very diligent on where they place the layer lines, and the layer lines are so extremely thin as to be negligible at best. And honestly, they're almost an addition to the mask, in my opinion, because you can see when I rotate the mask, when it catches the light, it kind of glows a little bit. And that's just because the light's bouncing off of those layer lines at the same angle. And it just looks lovely. I always love that effect. I know it's something that a lot of people don't like. I do. I don't know why. That said, it does have the wiring on one side of the mask, which makes sense according to the G1 version of the Mahiki, and of course the wiring over the top of the kind of ear flaps, if you want to call them that, which are also present here. They're not round in this case, but they actually take after Liwa Masters sort of intakes on the side and top of his head, except here again, they're a lot more understated. And I think that that's beneficial in every regard, honestly. This mask looks exceptional. It's rounded more than most of the G2 masks are, but I think that makes sense given what it is, because the Mahiki is quite a round mask, especially towards the top, where this one is round as well. This is an exceptionally good representation of this mask. So my plan for this is I got this one unpainted because rather than paint it, I want to try to experiment with it. In the past, I've heard that you cannot resin cast 3D resin printed items because the resin used for 3D printing and most, at least platinum-based silicones, don't really mix well. But I've heard that there are some ways around this. I've tested one though granted, it was on a mask that at that point was, 2 years old, right? So it had plenty of time to dry out, plenty of time to overexpose. So in this case here, I want to try and do a test like this again so I can create a mold for it. Now, I cannot distribute these. These are not my masks. I'm not going to be selling these or trading these or anything like that. I would just implore you to go out of your way to actually pick one of these up if you like them yourself, because they are lovely masks. This cost me $6.25. Yes, there's shipping on top of that, but in the US domestic, it's like $5. It's not much, and I can respect that, given again that this takes processing. It does take some time. I know that there are a lot of people that try to harp on like printing as not being like a job or whatever, but like you still have some hands-on work when it comes to printing, and you still obviously have the modeling and stuff that goes into it. So it's a different form of art than like drawing or sculpting or whatever, right? So generally speaking, really love these masks, highly recommend them. And of course, I would always say if you're able to buy more than one, it's worth it. They've got, I don't know, probably over 100 different mask molds at this point, some of which are free. I said mask molds, mask prints that you can buy. Some of them, they also have free files for as well, so you can print some of their masks off yourself. And I think that that's lovely too. It's always good to see, giving out things to the community. It's obviously something that I do as well, and I highly encourage. So overall, I would definitely recommend them. I would recommend this mask in general and all of their masks and their services. Expect a little bit of a wait time, as I've mentioned, but keep in contact with them. They're very good at getting back to you if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that. I've never had a message go unanswered from anybody from the RSG group. Again, that is Red Star Games. Again, that will be linked down in the description below. And if you like this content, again, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Gets us closer to 4,000. It's the next milestone. And as always, Discord, Patreon, and Instagram are all in the description below, so I'd appreciate it if you'd like to help the channel out. With that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you had any experience with RSG specifically, with their masks? Or if not their masks, have you printed out any masks? And would you recommend any either off of Shapeways or off of Thingiverse that you'd like to see featured on the channel? Because I do have a printer. I could always print something out, and I'd like to hear that back from you. So, till next time, take care.